Hey guys, welcome in this new video. I hope that all of you are doing great. So in this video we will talk about precious metal and more specifically gold and silver. So a lot of you guys wanted to hear my thoughts on this market and what I think we are going to see with gold and silver and where I stand with these moves that we got very recently on the markets, which were pretty big. So we will talk about that today, but just before that we get into it, as always guys, please leave a like under the video. I would really appreciate it and that would help the channel grow more and more, and make sure that you are subscribed as well so that you don't miss any new videos coming out. So let's talk about gold and silver, which is a very hot topic for the moment. I would say everyone is talking about that and everyone is kind of excited to talk about these metals. And so in this video, I want to give you guys my own perspective, what I think of them. Is it a good time to buy or should we sell, and things like that, all right? Now, one thing I want to mention just before we start, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not going to tell you guys exactly what to do. I'm just going to share with you guys what I think of this and some information, and then it's up to you to decide, well, what you want to do with this. So the first chart that I'm showing you guys here is the chart of gold recently. So as you guys can see, well, we had a pretty massive up move. So if we look back in the beginning of March, we had a big down move, and that down move was the coronavirus pandemic crash. But then gold did recover very nicely, and since that time really we had a pretty big move up. I mean, if we look back at the low of the March crash, we were around 1500, and right now as I'm recording this video we are very close to the 2000 level. So we had a pretty big up move on gold. If we look at this chart here, it's even more massive. So this is silver, and the move was even more strong than that and much bigger in terms of percentage as well. So silver went around 12, 13 when we had the crash back in March as well, and then it did recover and it went into a crazy move. Right now we are trading around 23, as you guys can see on the chart, a little above, a little under, depending on when you watch this video, but we are trading around 2 times really the price that we were trading back only a couple of months ago. So we have seen pretty massive move on these markets. Now if we come back to gold, this is the 5 years chart. And basically, as you guys can see, in 2016 we had the low after the big down move that we had. So previously on gold we had a big bull market, then it started to pull back down, and around 2016 this is where we saw the low of this pullback, and since that time we have been going up very strongly on gold, and we are now sitting at all-time high. And so if we try to understand the reasons of why this move has been going on, and especially more recently why the move was so strong, and well, the simple answer is that we have a lot of uncertainty right now in the world. Okay, so we have the virus that is still going on. We don't know exactly what will be the economic damage of that virus. We don't know how long it will last. There are millions of people who have lost their job. So on and on around the world, there are a lot of uncertainties, and there are even other topics that we could talk about, such as Brexit in the UK, which is still a big concern at the moment. We have US-China trade war, which is still not going nowhere pretty much, and there are still a lot of concerns there as well. So there are many reasons of why the world today is not in the best shape of form, right? And so in those kind of situations, well, precious metals and especially gold, they tend to perform very well because they these are the only long-term store of value that we have. If you go back even thousands of years ago, gold and silver were already used as money. And so it's really important for you guys to understand the difference between money and currencies, right? So money is something that has been proven to store value over the long term. And really the two only things that have proven to store value is gold and silver. So these precious metal can be considered, and they are considered as money, I would say. Now, currencies, they are not money, and so that is something very important for you guys to understand. But when we talk about the USD or the Canadian dollar or the euro, these are currencies, they are not money. What is the difference? Well, currencies can be created, right? So that is what we call fiat currencies. So the government and the Fed, for example, in the US, will create these currencies. And so if we study history, we will see that over the time, all of these fiat currencies that have been created, they eventually go back to zero. And the reason why is fairly simple, is because they can create these currencies a unlimited amount of time. So if you look at the M2 supply, which is basically how much currency there is in the system, you will see that it's just going up and up and up and up and up and up. It never stops. And so if you can create something a unlimited amount of time, well, it's very logical to think that one day it will be worthless, right? And so this is basically what leads to inflation, or even hyperinflation in the most extreme scenario. And so when it comes to these kind of markets such as precious metal or currencies, it's really important to understand this kind of historic perspective, because you need to know what you're trading in what environment. And so one thing that really did help gold a lot recently is the fact that the Fed has created trillions to respond to the pandemic that we had and the crisis. So they created a lot of money, and they did purchase a lot of financial assets with that money. That is what we call quantitative easing, and then this makes the currency in itself lose value. So if we look at the value of the USD, as you guys can see, at the beginning of the crash, we had a big up move, and then it started to come back down. And right now it's coming back down very, very strongly. And for those of you guys who are a part of my private group, you know that for the last couple of months, I was very bearish on USD. I was saying that USD could potentially go down because of the reasons that I just highlighted. And a lot of my recent trades have been around the fact that the USD was going to lose value eventually, or at least that was my forecast. So I did take a pretty good trade on NZD USD. I made a video about that. I did trade silver as well. So silver, I got in a buy around $16. So that was a very good trade. That was actually my biggest trade of my career. And then I have some other trades right now on commodities, which are all against the USD. So most of my recent trades that have been good trades were against the USD, because of this main idea that I had since the beginning, that when I saw the Fed creating so much currency, it's hard to think that it will go up, right? It's hard to think that this will gain value. Now, there were arguments as well for a potential up move on USD. I will not get into that because it's a bit more advanced, and that's not really the point of that video. But I was mostly thinking that it would go down. And when we started to get these confirmations, this is where I got in these trades. And well, these are basically the best trades so far of my trading year. And so this just goes to show you guys that it's important to understand, as I said before, the environment in which you are working with, and basically what's actually going on a long-term macro fundamental picture, in order to get more precision and a better understanding of the charts that you're looking at. If we come back to gold, so as I said, right now we are at all-time high. Silver is not at all-time high, so the all-time high is around $50. Right now it's only around 20 something. And so now the question is, if we look at gold, which is at all-time high, and we ask ourselves the question, could silver eventually get to all-time high? I mean, maybe in the future. I would say that it's not impossible, right? It's important to keep an open mind about everything. Now, something I want to mention here in this video, which I think is really important, there is already a pretty big hype around gold and silver, and that is not something very good. So let me explain you guys what I mean by that. So if we look at the longer term chart on silver, I don't have it here, but it's a fairly simple chart. You basically have two big bull market that happen on silver, and usually at the end of these bull markets, this is where we see the biggest move happen very, very fast. So the market just go up, and when it goes so strong like that, eventually it crashes and it comes back down pretty aggressively as well. And so the reason why I'm a little bit cautious, I would say personally right now on silver, is because there's already this big hype. If you look at the chart recently, I mean, the price movement is completely insane. You know, it's just going up. Like it has been going up, 7% a couple of days already in a row. Like it's a lot, it's not a small move. And so when there is already a lot of hype about something like that, this is where I become more cautious as well, because you don't know what could happen. You don't know if we could get a bigger pullback, a bigger correction, and things like that. So it's really important, to keep everything in perspective and to really understand the bigger picture of things, and also the psychological aspect of things. Because when these markets, for example, on gold, when they get to all-time high, there's a lot of psychology that goes into these moves. So for example, when gold will reach 2000, we are likely to see higher volatility, simply because 2000 is a very psychological number, and a lot of people will look at this. If we come back to silver, well, if we continue to go up, when we reach 30, 35, maybe 40, 45, 50, right, there will be moves around these levels, because it's very psychological and people will take trades based on that. And so these are just not the main points, but they are still something to consider. So now that I kind of exposed you guys with a lot of information, right, I just kind of put everything on the table right now. What can we expect for gold, silver, and the USD? Well, essentially, if the trends that we have right now continue, well, we could see gold rising, we could see silver rising, and we could see the USD lose value, right? That is not impossible. Now, what will be important to watch is these long-term I would say fundamental ideas that I shared with you guys, and see if they change or if they evolve in the future. And so that's why I said if these trends continue, and that's a really big important point. So these moves right now, as I said, are mostly fundamental driven and psychological driven, if we can say it that way. So that's the point that we will need to really focus on. Technical analysis right now, especially when we get to all-time high, it's not really, what you can base your trading on, because there's nothing on the left side of the screen, right? So if you are at all-time high, well, you just need to use very basic kind of, technical tools, we could say, such as trendline and fibs and things like that, or moving averages, right? And then, well, you will see what the price will do around these levels. But if it keeps going up, then we have new levels. So it's really just fundamentals and psychology at this point. So it's important to follow all the points I mentioned, and you guys will be able to form your own idea. And as you guys know, in my videos, I don't try to, give you guys everything just in a golden spoon, right? If that makes sense. So I'm not going to spoon feed you guys. What I'm going to do is give you information which I think is good and accurate, and then you can form your own idea based on that. But the only way to really succeed in trading or investing is to do it by yourself, understand by yourself these markets. So that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to give you guys this information. So I think I pretty much said everything I wanted to say. So to recap this whole video very simply, we could say, well, take in consideration all the points I mentioned. So quantitative easing, the fundamental trends and the psychological trends, and the USD, and just understanding the bigger picture of things. So take all of that in consideration, and then you can form your own idea. And that's really the key with this. It's really just to have your own plan and following that plan. That's really the most important thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you can leave a like on it. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, so with that, take care, trade with care, manage money well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.